Why does it feel like everything is working against me? Do you ask that question frequently? Are you stuck in addiction? Are you looking to get alcohol free? Are you alcohol free, but you're still struggling? I'm going to share with you a day in the life of what it was like for me and in my drinking and then in my sobriety. There's good news. Sobriety is the way forward. Being stuck in addiction and being stuck in drinking daily is no way to live. But I didn't know that when I was stuck in it. It's so easy to get lost. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Josh, living life alcohol free. If you're returning, thank you so much for being here and subscribing. I'm so grateful to all of you for being here. I had somebody comment in my sobriety group, why don't you talk about the positives of being alcohol free? And I mentioned that I have made several videos, but not recently. So I'm going to rehash some of the positives, but first I want to dive into this particular topic, which is we have this black cloud that hangs over our heads. And whether we're drinking or not, it's something that we think about. We ruminate on our problems, we fixate on the things that are going wrong, and it keeps us stuck in this battle each day of, hey, I want to be out of this. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to, first off, I don't want to be drinking. But if we're done drinking, I don't want to be continuing to feel this way, like everything is doom and gloom. Everything seems to be working against me. And even though, like, I've learned in my 5 years of being sober that life is just that way. Life isn't meant to work for us all the time. There's certain things that happen, they happen against us, and we have to work and figure out how to get through it and get to the other side. In particular, by not drinking, but it can also be by just talking about how we're feeling about situations. So I want to talk about one day in particular that I would ask God, like, why does this continue to happen to me? And if it continues to happen to me, I guess I just need to keep drinking and keep drinking more. So I got to a point where my anger was really the key thing that was holding me back. And really, I wanted to be done drinking because I knew that the drinking was making my anger and my irritability worse. I felt like, why, why is this all happening to me? Like, why do I feel every day like it's a curse? It doesn't feel like this is a blessing at all. And that's what it was like to wake up every single day feeling like crud because of drinking the day before. So I'd wake up and be like, man, I did it again. Here we go again. Nauseous, got a headache. Maybe I get back to sleep for a little bit, but then I get back up a couple hours later. It wasn't restful sleep. I go about my day. Maybe I have to work. Maybe I have to take care of things at home. Either way, it's work. And then you spill something, one of the kids says something that bothers you, the dog throws up, uh, any of these little things that happen, they build up and they start to accumulate. And then you get to a point where you're like, I just need to get away. I need solace. I need, if you grew up in the 80s like I did and you saw that Calgon commercial, Calgon, take me away, and she's in her bath having a bubble bath, and it's like that is what we want. But we start to think about alcohol to quiet that voice, that anxiety, that discomfort that we have in our day-to-day life. And the more we reach for alcohol, the more we stay stuck in that. And then say we get sober, but we aren't fixed yet. I mean, we get through the urges to drink, and we're more powerful, we're stronger for each additional urge from that. We're fighting that urge. That's what we're doing. And when we're dealing with something that's not comfortable, and we think about reaching for the alcohol, and we find other things to reach for, like friends, community, like a sober group, reading. There's all kinds of literature out there about alcohol and just exactly what it does to us. Quit lit and all these things, and they help us actually start to rewire our brains to a point where we're not thinking about alcohol anymore. And then to take it a step further, we need to kind of reframe things in situations that happen that aren't comfortable, because we're not going to drink over, the dog throwing up. We're not going to drink over something that our kids say to us that bother us. We're not going to drink over these little things, but the more they build up, we might. And it's a key thing in recovery to be able to learn that about ourselves and be able to be open and honest about just the irritations of those little things. It like I said, it may fester, and it may, those things that our kids say may hurt us. The things that a coworker says to us at work, they may bother us. They may get under our skin, and we can't sweep them under the rug. We stay stuck on them, fixated on them. We ruminate about them, and then we drink because of it. But if we can get to the other side of that, that's really when the power and the strength comes in. We wake up with clarity. We can look at people in the eye instead of reaching for that nasty junk food. We are more conscious, health conscious. We reach for the healthier alternative instead of skipping, stretching, exercise, going to the gym if that's your thing. We do it. We go to the gym. We do that thing. Instead of lashing out at our loved ones, we hold it in. We don't say what we really want to say, and we jot it down. We tell a friend from our sober group. We post something, and then by the time we get over that feeling, it's over, and we're not. We didn't say the thing that was gonna because it's a cascading effect. If we said it, we have to deal with the outfall of that. How are they going to react? Are they going to say something that's hurtful in return, which then spawns more resentment, more animosity, and then we might, build on that. But what we do when we pause, we take a break, we don't say the thing that we want to say, and we just figure out a way to reframe and deal with the situation, and we say, I didn't drink at that. I don't want to drink at that. I don't want to ruminate about that anymore. I don't want that to, I don't want stress and anxiety to dictate my life anymore. I want to look at this situation like, you know what? It's something that it's not comfortable, but there's a better approach, a better way to handle it. And we can kind of stop taking things so personally. I remember having um, for work, I had like a class that we had to take, and it was a customer service class. And it was basically all about how to deal with customers that were irritated, that were saying things that were bothersome to us, and they would try to make things personal. And the instructor brought in a whole box of Q-tips and gave us each a Q-tip and said, quit taking it personally. And if someone's bothering you, you just hand them that Q-tip. And if something's bothering them, I should say, you just hand them that Q-tip and say, quit taking it personally. And I remember, uh, I like that acronym, but I remember like later that week handing a Q-tip to one of my coworkers and saying, "Quit taking it personally," and she just threw the Q-tip back at me like "F you, man," and it didn't. I mean, it didn't help the situation, but I mean, it sure made me laugh. But but yeah, it's like, but it's true. Like we need to quit taking things so personally, quit taking ourselves so seriously. And I always took myself seriously, man. It was like anytime anybody would say anything remotely critical of me, or give me negative feedback, or any of these things that, we can take to heart, I would go drink at it. And that's just how it went. But replacing those first of all, replacing the drinking session was number one. Getting rid of that, and moving on with my life without alcohol, that was number one goal. Once I got that out of my system, 10 days physically it takes to get the alcohol out of your system. You can kind of, remove that from the scenario. You're still left with having to deal with the situation, but there's ways around that. For me, it was therapy. For me, it was medication. For me, it was talking and being vulnerable with my wife. It was posting on my sober group, and being just, like, open and honest about it. Now, there were things that happened, and I don't feel like I was completely cured until like 3 years into my recovery. It took me about 6 months to get over like the anger, like the real irritability, the real anger issues. Once I was able to kind of figure that out and get off the medication and kind of get off of therapy, I was able to kind of recognize that I was calmer. I was more relaxed. I was still taking things personally, but I wasn't ruminating on them as much. And honestly, I think that the alcohol continues to make us ruminate on that stuff. It's almost like, I did a poll recently about how faith might play a role in your recovery, and I would say that a majority of people were either not religious or I don't need religion to be sober. And I agree with that. For me, to a certain extent, I can agree with that. But faith has played a huge role in my recovery. But um, turning to God was something that I needed to do, because I got down on my hands and knees and begged God to take me out of my addiction. And it didn't take much longer after I did that for that prayer to be answered. And I found a group of people. I found a couple books, and I can put those down below if you're interested in knowing what those are. But those things really helped me like get over the edge. And once I was able to get through the physical issues with alcohol, 10 days, the mental roadblocks were still there, and I would say that they were there for probably about 30 days. Once I reached that 30-day milestone, I started to realize that instead of waking up and thinking about all the things that were missing from my life, like, why is everything working against me, kind of a mindset, I started to wake up and brush my hair, brush my teeth, make my bed, stretch. At the time, I wasn't reading scripture. That came later, like a couple years after I quit drinking. But that eventually that came into play. But it was those few things that got my day started right. It was unloading the dishes that I loaded the night before. It was accomplishing like small things, and actually just waking up with clarity was like the best part of it. Not hungover, not cloudy, not feeling like I can't like look at people, or I want to kind of hide my odor from, because I knew that I had alcohol excreting from my skin. And what a gross feeling that was. And I don't have that feeling anymore of being self-conscious anymore. And man, that was a good feeling. But replacing what used to be these bad habits, these idle thoughts, these things um, that we used to get accustomed to while we were drinking, we replace them with things that incrementally. You hear people say it all the time, like make your bed. It's true. Like it's one thing we accomplished. The hygiene thing, that really helps because it just makes you feel like you are presentable, not just to other people, but to yourself. You look in the mirror, you feel like you are ready to go. And then the simple chore of just like making sure the kitchen's cleaned up and then, getting on with your day. And then by the time the witching hour comes, which is for me, it was like noon when I wasn't working. Uh, and then if I was working, it was just after work. When those urges to drink would come, I would take a walk. I would walk my dogs or play with my dogs. I would get on my sober group, comment about how I'm feeling, say I'm having this urge to drink. I don't want to drink. I don't want to think about drinking. And then I would go talk to my wife if she was home, or I might text her if she was at work, and then I would get back on my sobriety group. And by the time all that took place, the urge to drink was gone. And then I would repeat that each day. Make it day by day, but also get through it moment by moment. And then eventually those feelings of why is everything working against me start to dissipate. And the things that you are doing, it feels like they're starting to work for you instead of against you. So the poll that I did last week in regards to if you're alcohol free or want to be alcohol free, I would say it was like 50-50. There's people that are alcohol free, but then there's also people who are wanting to be alcohol free. And so for those of you that are wanting to get alcohol free, see if you can get through one day and see if you can replace the drinking or the thoughts of drinking with other activities. Like I mentioned, I have a sober group. It's called Sobriety in the Storm. It's a private group on Facebook. You can join that group. You can also post in the community on my YouTube channel. Just click on the community tab, and you can post anytime. You can post on this video or any of my other videos, and we can get a dialogue going. Uh, I'm checking in. I have a regular job that I work. It's usually like 3 days a week, but on the days that I'm working, I may be able to get back to you within the hour. But there's always going to be people on here that can get back to you pretty quickly, and on the Facebook group. So those are a couple options. But have someone in your life that you can be honest and open with your drinking, your urges to drink, those kinds of things, and talk about it. It might seem like something that's small in the moment, and that's like you don't want to bother somebody about it. You don't even want to bother yourself over it. But getting to the root cause of why we're having these issues and being able to reframe is a huge thing. I made a video like maybe a month or two after I started this channel last year about reframing. So you can go back and check that video out. That's in my sober podcast, which I'll pin the link to that playlist below. It didn't get a ton of views, but you know what? It's important, and I'm probably gonna make another video about reframing in the future. I'll probably go through some of those videos and make another like a part two of those videos because they are important. They help us get out of that mindset that like, man, things are not working for me. Everything's working against me. I don't want to feel like that anymore. And honestly, the first step is really just gaining clarity, and that's getting sober, putting the alcohol down. For those of you that are alcohol free, you're watching my videos, you're on here for a reason. I have maybe I'll do a poll on this, like if you're alcohol free and you're on this platform, what value do I bring to you in your recovery? Maybe you're not where you want to be in your sober journey yet. Like I said, it took me about 3.5 years to even feel comfortable talking on camera. Things played out the way that they did. Like I said, my faith played a huge role in my ability to not feel so self-conscious. I was always self-conscious from a very young age. I grew up, I had crooked teeth. Uh, One of my therapists said, and I told her, I said when I'd laugh, I'd I'd put my hand over my mouth, and because I didn't want people to see my crooked smile, my crooked teeth. And she said, Josh, you literally had to hide your joy. And it was true. I was hiding. I was always hiding. I never felt like I could just truly be me. I got braces when I was in my late teenage years, like 19. I had them on for like 4 years. Of course, I was kind of self conscious about that. But once I got them off, I was able to smile. And that was awesome. And it felt like it was a burden that was lifted off of me. I felt like, I didn't need to be like so self conscious about the smile. But then I had a red face. And then the red face bothered me, especially if I was drinking a lot, it would get redder and redder. And if I was hungover, it would get red. I mean, it was just, if I was talking in front of people, redness. So again, I can't be joyful because I'm afraid of how my face looks. I can't help what my face looks like. It might be red right now. I don't know, but I don't care. Um, it doesn't phase me. But again, that took me time to accept that. Hey, and actually, someone pointed out last year on my video, one of my shorts, and pointed out that I was doing a video outside. It was sweltering hot, and I was like sweaty and red. But he said, I think you have an underlying like blood pressure issue. And it was weird because like just like a few weeks later or a month later, I ended up in the hospital for acute pancreatitis, which came on because of a virus, apparently, because I didn't drink, I didn't have gallstones. So my doctor ultimately figured that it was probably just acute pancreatitis from like a virus. Where I got that, nobody knows. I've been fine ever since. But while I was in the hospital, I had blood pressure through the roof. And it was detected in my 4 night stay that I had high blood pressure during that time. So I got on medication for that. And I've been on it ever since. Now, I was able to get off of cholesterol meds. I was able to get off of Zoloft like 6 months after I quit alcohol, and I really wasn't on anything for about 3 or 4 years until that happened last year. Um, but it was like a blessing that I'm able to like talk about my life, talk about what's going on in my life, because I kind of blew off that comment, but at the same time, it was like maybe they're onto something. Maybe I do have something going on, and I don't really know about it. But other people sometimes, they don't have the words to say it, or maybe it comes off as kind of uh, negative or critical, and that's okay. But like we need to be able to be open, and through sobriety, through recovery, through my faith, through my practicing of getting through ruminations, practicing getting through my self consciousness, practice finding my balance, finding my center, finding the things that bring me true joy rather than dwelling on all the things that are not working out, that are negative, that I don't like about my life, myself, and all those things. Those are all huge things that come along with recovery. And I can tell you, if you're newly in your sobriety, if you're watching these videos, time does heal wounds, but time doesn't fix what's going on with us. So we have to actually put the work into it. And when we do that, it might, in all honesty, it might take 6 months, it might take a year. I've had every year I've had a new year's resolution. It's been a new one, and I've been able to spend several months after the new year starts working on that. And then I notice after like 4, 5, 6 months, I've I've nipped it in the bud. I've figured it out. I've been doing it, And then it just becomes natural, it becomes part of my routine. This year was to read more books. I started reading more books. I read 6 books in the first 8 months, but that was 6 books more than I read in the years, several years added up prior to that. Now, last year, I read the Bible from cover to cover. I had a Bible app, the YouVersion Bible app. There's so many different variations of a Bible reading program, but you can read it yourself. You can have it read to you. You can read along with their voice. But I read the Bible cover to cover. Before that, I never read more than like a few pages of Genesis and got bored. And that was like baby steps. And that was kind of because my pastor told me about YouVersion. And I wouldn't know about that unless I started attending church every week. And I did that, and I made a commitment to do that. And it takes a time, it takes a commitment, it takes a will, it takes a desire to fix what's broken. Quitting alcohol doesn't solve everything. It helps, it solves a lot. That was my underlying issue, was the alcohol. That was what was holding me back. I've always been introspective. I've always looked within to try to find answers. Tried I've always tried, and I've always wanted to figure out things. I've always wanted to figure out what makes me tick. I've always wanted to figure out what the world is like, why is the world the way that it is? And I still can't answer that for you. But I have a better understanding of it, and I'm more accepting of it. And when things go south, it's easier for me to just say, you know what? I don't need to know the answer to that. It doesn't matter. Why is that person that way? I don't know. It says more about them than it does me. And then I kind of can move on. But reframing is a huge thing. So why doesn't why does it seem like everything is working against us? It's in our minds most of the time. Yes, there's going to be issues that are out of our control, health issues that are out of our control. If we can, if we have someone in our life that we can trust, that we can share our feelings with, that they can be honest with us about what we're going through health wise, that's going to help us get far in life. I was always very skeptical of taking any kind of antidepressant. I was always skeptical of, um, following up on medical procedures and things like that. And I'd say I feel fine and I don't need that. But the truth of the matter is, now that I'm getting older, uh, it's a blessing that I don't drink. I don't need to worry that that's the issue. That's the reason why I'm having the issues that I'm having. I'm having them because I'm getting older, and some of that stuff's not in my control, but I can control it by following up and taking good care of myself. Is it frustrating? Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. You hear people that are, in their 60s and 70s joke around all the time about, their doctor's appointments are taking up, it's like a full time job. And if that's where you are in your life, I mean, and it's difficult to deal with, and you're drinking because of it, or maybe you're not drinking and you're still struggling, and it's hard for you to accept, all the things that you have to deal with in this life. Yeah, it can be frustrating, but community is everything in this. It's not just about living alcohol free. It's about um, just living a life that you can be your authentic self. You can be honest with yourself, and you can just live your life and live a quality of life that we didn't have as drinkers. It's so much better. So yeah, I mean, one of the things I've been doing the last year, I would say, or so, is making a plan to do something that I haven't done before, um, at least once every month or two, and especially in the summertime. So yeah, I'm making a plan for October, and I'll keep you posted on that. Maybe I'll even share some stuff on the live streams with you guys about what I got coming up, and things like that. So I'm going to try to get back into the live streams. I've been super busy with other things with the channel, but also with work and then just life. But I do want to get back into the live streams, do some of those for regular and do some for members only. I've got videos coming out Wednesdays and Sundays as usual. You can watch those when I post them, usually the night before if you're a member, and those the access for membership. So, but yeah, please like and subscribe, become a member, give me a super thanks, anything that helps me keep this channel going. I want to continue making content for you guys. It's a passion that I have. And I've got a Facebook group. Like I said, I'll pin that in the comments below. If you have anything you want to share or talk about, or you want me to bring up in a video, I got some of these ideas from somebody in my Facebook group. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, so we'll see you on the next one. And hope you all have a great sober day.